There's something strange about the silence he left behind. Not cold, not empty, but full of weight, full of tension. It's as if he's trying too hard to seem unaffected. But deep down, something tells you this distance is not the same as disconnection. You can feel that he's still energetically tied to you, but he's doing everything he can to pretend otherwise. Carl Jung once said that the unconscious always finds a way to speak, even when the conscious mind denies it. And maybe that's exactly what's happening here. Maybe he misses you, deeply, fully, painfully. But instead of saying it, he hides it, not to be cruel, but because something in him doesn't know how to reach for you without crumbling. This is how the heart speaks when the mouth is silent. These are the hidden signs he still feels you, even if he won't admit it. He starts showing up in ways that feel unintentional. You see his name when you least expect it. He appears in group chats he used to avoid. His online status aligns with yours too perfectly. A like on a post from weeks ago. A reaction to something subtle. It's never direct, never personal, but it keeps happening. The timing is always too precise to be coincidence. And when you look deeper, it's not the action itself that matters, but the energy behind it. These little appearances are often unconscious leaks. His inner world trying to stay close while his outer self tries to keep control. He doesn't want to come off as vulnerable, so he finds ways to remain in your orbit without opening the door too wide. These small gestures are his way of whispering from afar, hoping you'll notice but not confront him. His pride stays intact, but his longing slips through the cracks. He reacts to your energy, not your words. You don't need to text him or post anything obvious, but the moment you emotionally shift, he feels it. The moment you begin to detach, find your light again, or speak about healing, he appears. A message, a memory shared, a comment disguised as a joke. It's not accidental, it's a subtle, energetic pull. Jung believed in synchronicity, those meaningful coincidences that arise from the collective unconscious. When a man still carries you in his psyche, he will respond to your changes even without knowing why. He senses when your attention moves. He feels when your energy no longer feeds his absence. That's when he gets uncomfortable. That's when he reaches out, not out of manipulation, but out of fear. The fear of truly losing you, not just physically, but emotionally. And so, he tries to anchor himself again in your awareness. Even if it's only for a moment, his emotions become muted, but his behavior becomes louder. You hear nothing from him, but mutual friends mention that he asked about you. You don't receive messages, but he's suddenly connected to your world again, through people, places, or platforms. Silence doesn't always mean peace. Sometimes, it's a storm brewing underneath a calm surface. Jung said the shadow, the repressed part of ourselves, is often projected outward. When he suppresses how much he misses you, it leaks into other areas of his life. He may become irritable, restless, impulsive. He might distract himself with work or meaningless flings. Yet none of it brings peace, because he's trying to numb something that refuses to be silenced. Missing you isn't a thought, it's a full-body ache, one that follows him into sleep, into songs, into the pause between conversations. It lingers when he's alone, in the quiet, and that's when he feels it most. He avoids shared spaces, not because he doesn't care, but because he cares too much. The restaurant where you had that unforgettable night, the corner of the city where you kissed in the rain. The park where you sat for hours talking about your dreams. He used to go there. Now he doesn't. He makes excuses. He finds other places. And it's not avoidance out of anger. It's self-protection. These spaces are sacred, and they hurt. They remind him of what he's lost, and what he's not ready to confront. At the same time, he's still connected to your life from a distance. He somehow knows things about you. Maybe he saw something online. Maybe he heard something. Maybe he searched without meaning to. But he knows, because his heart is still looking, even when his pride says no. The places may have changed, but the feelings remain carved into his memory. He overcompensates with control. He seems happy, confident, unbothered. He posts as if everything is fine. He flirts, he travels, he smiles. But if you look closely, it's forced. There's an edge to it, as if he's trying to convince himself, not just the world. Carl Jung often spoke of the persona, the mask we wear for social acceptance, and when that mask becomes too polished, too perfect, it often means there's chaos behind it. When a man truly doesn't care, he doesn't need to prove it. But when he misses you and can't face it, he constructs a narrative that hides his wound, he becomes loud in his detachment. He flaunts his freedom, not because he's free, but because he's imprisoned by the version of himself that won't allow softness, regret, or truth. He's not celebrating his independence. He's hiding the fact that without you, his life feels disoriented. You appear in his slip-ups, in the way he uses your phrases without thinking, in the music he shares that once meant something to both of you, in the metaphors he once learned from your conversations. He's not doing it to get your attention. He's doing it because you became a part of his internal world. You live in his unconscious, stitched into the language of his thoughts. Jung said that every relationship creates a psychic connection, a shared field. Even when it ends, the imprint remains. When he misses you but hides it, that field becomes charged. Your image returns in his dreams. Your voice echoes when he least expects it. And though he tries to move on, parts of you resurface through him. These echoes aren't always visible, but if you listen, they're there. In his rhythm, in his restlessness, in his resistance, and sometimes in his sadness. He stays silent, but there's guilt in his eyes when you finally speak. If you happen to cross paths, he'll act composed. He'll smile, nod, maybe even joke, but look closely. The moment your eyes meet, there's a flicker, something raw, unfiltered. For a second, the mask drops, because your presence makes it harder to pretend. His body may stay still, but his energy leans forward. He wants to say something, but doesn't. He wants to reach, but won't. That tension is the truth. That hesitation is the grief. He doesn't hate you, he misses you, but something in him believes he's not allowed to, or that if he says it, the pain will become too real. So he buries it. But you see it, you feel it, and the weight of that silence says more than 1,000 apologies ever could. He remembers the details no one else would. If you talk again, even briefly, he brings up something small. The way you liked your tea, the song that played on your third date, the way your voice changed when you spoke about your childhood. These aren't random memories, they're proof. Proof that he was paying attention even when you thought he wasn't. Proof that you mattered more than he could say. And now, when he misses you, it's not the big moments that haunt him, it's the tiny ones, the seemingly insignificant, the ordinary things that now feel extraordinary because you're no longer there to live them with him. Jung believed that the soul holds onto symbols, that our unconscious remembers what the mind tries to forget. When a man misses you deeply, he clings to symbols of you, not to suffer, but because they were sacred, and because part of him hopes you'll feel close to you again through them. He sabotages new connections, not openly, but you hear it. Someone tells you he's dating again, but it doesn't last. Someone else says he seems distracted, he doesn't fully show up. He compares, he pulls away. And the truth is, no one feels like you. Not because you were perfect, but because you were real, because your energy left a mark. Jung wrote that unresolved emotions often repeat themselves until they're healed. When he tries to recreate the bond you had, it collapses, because what he felt with you can't be duplicated. He can't replace depth with convenience, and so he ends up lonely in crowded rooms, smiling in photos but empty when he closes the door at night, missing you, not just as a person, but as a mirror, as the version of himself that only came alive in your presence. This is how men miss in silence, not with words, not with grand gestures, but with contradictions, with hesitation, with echoes of everything unsaid. If you felt his energy pulling you even from a distance, it's not all in your head, it's in your field, it's in his shadow, it's in the places where the heart refuses to forget what once made it feel alive. Before we go deeper, there's something you should know. If you're carrying emotional weight that logic can't explain, the Jung Method might help you understand the patterns you keep repeating. You'll find the link pinned in the first comment. When a man misses you but hides it, he becomes a contradiction. His words may say nothing, but his energy speaks in waves. Carl Jung believed the unconscious never stays silent for long. It finds ways to leak through the cracks, to express the feelings we try to suppress. And when someone tries to bury longing, it often rises stronger through behavior, dreams, tension, and distance. This is how men grieve silently, how they carry love like a weight they cannot show. He doesn't call, doesn't text, but you feel him, not just in memories, but in moments that don't make sense. You think of him and suddenly he appears online. You speak his name and someone else mentions him. These are not coincidences. They are energetic echoes. His soul still reacts to your presence, even if his pride won't allow action. Jung called this psychic connection the field. Once a bond is created at the soul level, it doesn't vanish with silence. It lingers, pulses, remembers. He distracts himself constantly, throws himself into work, social events, meaningless routines, but something always feels off, like he's trying too hard to look normal. Because when a man truly moves on, it shows in peace. When he's faking it, it shows in noise. You notice the way he posts too much, smiles too wide, celebrates things with too much effort. It's compensation, not celebration. And it stems from a place of emptiness. He's not chasing happiness. He's running from the grief he hasn't named. He avoids the spaces that once felt sacred. The cafe where you shared long talks. The song that used to be yours. The places he knows will trigger something real. He doesn't go there, not because he's indifferent, but because the memories are too alive, too raw. Jung said the psyche resists re-exposure to emotional pain, and so he creates physical distance from emotional landmarks. Yet at the same time, he follows your life from afar, checks on you without interacting, stays connected in quiet ways. He needs to know how you are, even if he can't ask. Because missing you is not a thought, it's a state of being. When you speak again, if ever, you'll hear it in his voice. The tension, the restraint, the way he dances around truth. He might act casual, detached, but his eyes will say something else. They'll flicker, hesitate, maybe even tear up for a second, because seeing you again would bring everything back. Not just the love, but the regret, the unfinished parts. And in that moment, he won't know what to say, because nothing will feel like enough, and everything will feel like too much. He might be with someone else now, but he's not truly present. He compares, he disconnects, he doesn't go deep. Not because he doesn't want to love again, but because he's afraid. Afraid that what he had with you was rare, that he won't find that depth again. So he keeps things on the surface, smiles on the outside, while quietly wondering why it doesn't feel the same. Jung believed we recreate emotional patterns until we heal. And in every woman he meets now, he searches for the piece that mirrored him like he once did. But he won't find it because you weren't just a person. You were an experience, a mirror, a moment in time that shaped him forever. Sometimes he dreams of you, not always clearly. Sometimes it's a place, a symbol, a song. But the feeling is there, that familiar ache, that tenderness he won't express by day. In dreams, the unconscious takes over, and what he suppresses becomes visual, emotional, alive. Jung taught that dreams reveal what the ego hides. So when you appear, it's not random, it's remembrance. It's his soul speaking in symbols. And though he may never tell you, he wakes up changed, haunted, moved, because something in him still holds on. He finds himself repeating your words, using phrases only you used, referencing things you once taught him, not to manipulate, but because you became part of his inner dialogue. Your influence left fingerprints on his growth. He hears your voice when he's confused, remembers your perspective when he's hurting. That's the mark of true connection. It doesn't vanish with time. It becomes part of how we relate to the world. And though he may resist it, he knows that some of his best parts were born in your presence. He tells people half-truths, downplays the relationship, emphasizes your flaws, frames things in a way that protects him. That's not clarity. That's defense. When a man rewrites the past, it's often because he can't face his own role in how things ended. It's easier to distort the story than to sit with the pain. But if you listen closely, he always slips, says too much, leaves something out. The hesitation reveals more than the words, and that's where the truth lives. In the moments he tries too hard to stay composed, he gets quiet when others mention you, changes the subject, looks away. That's not closure, that's avoidance. Real closure doesn't sting, it doesn't trigger. But when he still flinches at your name, it means he's still carrying something unresolved. Jung said the shadow holds what we cannot accept, and if your memory lives in his shadow, it means he hasn't healed. He's still at war with the parts of himself that loved you, and with the choices that led to losing you. When he sees you happy, it stings, not because he wants you to suffer, but because it confirms something he feared, that you could live without him, that you could rise. He may have thought you'd wait, that you'd stay emotionally attached, but watching you reclaim your joy forces him to face what he lost. And while part of him is proud, another part mourns, because your healing highlights his hesitation. Your growth exposes his stagnation. and that creates a silent grief that no one else sees. He reappears when you detach, not with declarations of love, but with casual contact, a comment, a reaction, something small. But the timing is never accidental. It happens when your energy shifts, when you stop focusing on him, when you reclaim your center. That's when he senses the loss, because energy doesn't lie. And when you release someone, they feel it, especially if they were energetically feeding off your attention. Jung described the psyche as relational, meaning we're always connected beneath the surface. When one cord is cut, the other trembles. His return is not always a sign to reopen the door. Sometimes it's just his unconscious reacting to the vacuum you created by letting go. He talks about being fine but looks tired. He claims he's moved on but seems distracted. His life is full, yet nothing excites him. That's what it looks like when someone is functioning but not fulfilled. The mask of strength begins to crack, because missing someone and hiding it drains the soul. It creates a gap between the truth and the performance, and that dissonance takes its toll. He's not depressed, he's spiritually homesick, for a connection that once made him feel seen, for the version of himself that only existed when you held space for him. He starts seeking meaning, reads more, reflects more, questions more, not just about you, but about life, because a true connection doesn't just shake the heart, it awakens the soul. And when it's gone, the void demands to be filled. But with what? That's the journey he begins, quietly, alone, trying to understand why you mattered so much, why it still lingers, why the memory of you feels more real than the reality he's living. And that questioning is the start of his awakening. You became the mirror that revealed his deeper self, and now he wants to find it again, even if he doesn't know how. He holds on to your gifts. Maybe it's a letter, a photo, a shirt, something simple, but he can't throw it away. Not because of the object itself, but because of the energy it holds. Jung taught that physical items can become emotional symbols, anchors for the soul. When he touches that item, he feels you, not just the memory, but the presence, the essence. And even if he locks it in a drawer, it's there, because some things are too sacred to discard, not because of what they are, but because of what they represent. He waits for a sign, that maybe you still care, that maybe it's not too late. But he doesn't ask, doesn't say it, because he's afraid. Afraid of rejection, afraid of disrupting your peace, afraid of hearing that you've truly moved on. So he waits, in silence, for a signal, a crack in the wall, a sign that you remember too. That kind of waiting isn't passive, it's emotional paralysis. And it's not strength, it's fear wearing the mask of respect. He believes you were the one, even if he never said it, even if he pretended otherwise. In his heart he knows, not because you were flawless, but because you reached a part of him that no one else ever touched. The part that dreams, the part that feels, the part that believes in something beyond logic. And that's what makes missing you so painful. It's not just about love lost, it's about meaning lost, purpose lost, connection to something bigger than himself. That kind of void can't be filled with distraction. It demands truth, so he lives with it, carries it, tries to forget, but never really does, because real connection doesn't fade, it transforms. And even if you never speak again, you remain part of his story, not as a chapter, but as a turning point, the moment he felt most alive, the mirror he wasn't ready for, the truth he couldn't hold. This is how men miss in silence, not with words, not with drama, but with restlessness, with contradiction, with the ache of what might have been. And if you've ever felt his energy tug at you without reason, now you know why. The soul remembers what the ego tries to erase, and some bonds are never truly broken